At the bench.
At the bench. We need a theme
At
song.
the bench. This is the next thing we will do is we write a theme song. It's got to have banjos and Les Paul guitars.
Hey, you know what? I'll tell you what. Anybody out there that wants to do our theme show,
Our theme song.
Yes.
Yeah. We will credit you on every.
Well, yeah. Let's have a competition. Send. Where would they send the theme song to, Rod?
To
you, of course.
To me.
Yeah. So maybe you can put up an address.
Yeah. Yep. So rod@rodgells.com. But anyway,
GOELZ.
You can just do it and put it in the description, or I keep all the comments open, and all you find people.
Well, good. Then put your address in there so that.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's
come up with a
interesting, quirky, weird, whatever. Maybe if we get enough of them, we'll rotate it, and let everybody decide which one. But I mean, just for the hell of it, this is about creativity. This is about creativity. Let's be creative. You know,
we're not making millions here. Yeah,
we're not making. Hey, I'm proud to be 100 air.
Yeah, right. So the morning after.
The morning after.
The morning after. So
drinking seltzer the morning after.
Greg was on the spot. The Pennsylvania
Central Pennsylvania Music Awards.
Yes.
At Hershey
Central Pennsylvania Music Awards in the Hershey Theater.
That is such a beautiful theater.
Yes.
That's where I just was with Joe, and it's just an amazing place. I love the theaters in Pennsylvania, and like all throughout the country. We, well, I don't want to say we've all, but a lot of us have played a lot of these theaters, and it's such a joy to stand on a stage and look up at these beautiful places and know that they're being preserved, like the Keswick.
Yeah.
Which is still being, brought back in. What's the place in Reading? God, that's a beautiful theater. But
it was a different era. It's like, as I get older, I look at these things and it's like, wow, that was a different time.
Yeah.
When they built it then, they built it forever.
Yeah. They not only did they build it forever, but they made every square inch opulent.
Yes.
So when you were never bored, because if the play you were watching or the band that you were watching, or whatever wasn't keeping your entertainment, you just looked around and went, wow, look at that. Look at this. Look at that. And nowadays, venues, they don't have that. And so it was definitely a throwback to a different time, sitting there looking around. And we have so many great people in our music scene.
Mm-hmm.
When I moved up here in '94 from Gettysburg, you could make I had tons of customers that were making a living playing somewhere in the area every night of the week. We don't have that anymore, but we still have a great scene. And I think that the CPMAs are certainly bringing attention.
You're doing the good work. Thank you, Brandon Valentine, for this.
Yes, Brandon Valentine.
He is doing the good work.
He absolutely is. He's a brave man to take this on. There's if you go on the internet where everybody is an expert and nobody's accountable, you see all these people trashing it. And we have a scene, and the scene needs to be protected, and the CPMAs are helping to do that. I experienced artists last night that I was completely unaware of. There were the musical performances were few. It was third stream, which I remember from being in college.
Jim Miller is my bass sensei.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah,
he's awesome. The Pixies 3. All right.
I didn't know there was a Pixies 3.
I didn't know either. And it was three young ladies in 1960 something started. It was a singing group of these three young ladies. They ended up opening for the Stones on their first USA tour.
All right.
And they're up there last night. They got them back together to induct them into the Hall of Fame, and they killed. These three ladies up there in sequin blouses, singing this like Birthday Party was their hit, back in
that is the good stuff.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah, manifesting great. Over the top. Like that is
it was, and they got a huge response. And I looked around and there were people with brightly colored hair and people in costumes and whatever, and they're all just, wow, this is real talent. They played to a track, but their voices, there were three grandmas up there, and they all still had strong voices. They hooked up, musically with each other. It was terrific. And I turned to Sarah and I was like, man, this is awesome. We really, really enjoyed it. And so at the very least, Brandon exposed us to them and them to us. At the very least, that was a gift.
Yes.
But it was good times. Good to see people that, like we're all playing. So you don't get to see people in other bands. I met some people last night that I'm Facebook friends with, that I've interacted with, but I've never actually
Met face to
laid
face.
eyes on them.
Yeah.
And so that's always kind of cool. The weird thing is when you're Facebook friends with somebody and you walk into a room and there they are and you look right at them and they look away.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I think, it has to be shyness.
well, it could be.
Yeah. Some people,
then when
people are not.
Yeah. One individual in particular, though, I walked past this individual 3 times and stopped in front of this person at one point, looking at them. And they chose to turn and talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And so this morning when I got up, I thought, should I unfriend this person? I thought, no, this person is going to continue to be exposed to this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to do is click on something on their profile so that the metrics will basically hook us up. Because, if you don't click on somebody for a long time, and Facebook doesn't put you together with them. All you people out there that think that everything you say goes to every one of your friends, nah, it doesn't happen. Yeah. And but this person, I'm just gonna see what happens.
All right. Yeah,
maybe they're having a bad night, or maybe I had BO. I don't know.
Yeah, probably neither. Yeah. I don't know. It's like some people are just weird, like socially awkward in real life. They have a Facebook persona, but that doesn't mean that
I'm socially awkward when I'm isolated.
Yeah. Yeah. So whenever I would see you, like before the internet, it would be once every 10 years.
Yeah. That's true.
And you would shout across the room at a Philly guitar show, "You sexy bitch."
Well, you are a sexy bitch.
Yeah, you said it back in 92 or whatever it was. 97.
Whenever.
Yeah.
Whenever. Yeah, last night at one point, Steve Junkins.
In other words, I could not fake my way out of that one.
No. I think it's funny when you bring attention to somebody in that manner, because how they react to that is that's the whole thing. Is you're basically setting a stage and then you sit back and watch the performance.
Yeah.
And last night the Suicide Puppets were right in the center of the theater. They're across the aisle from us. And at one point I got up to go say hi to Steve Junkins, the guitar player. He's a good guy, amazing tattoo artist.
That's what I hear. We are friends on Facebook. Hi, Steve. We've never met in real life.
He's terrific.
There's a case in point.
Well, I have no tattoos. I have 0.0 tattoos. And I'm gonna get something and Steve's gonna do it. And then I have so many friends that are tattoo artists. I'm thinking about
he's played with a lot of people.
Yeah. He
played with a lot of people. Puppets was the
oh God, don't
Pantera band.
Don't put me on the spot. I'm not gonna be able to. The Departed. I don't know. A bunch
There's
of
many I don't even know, because I think he was in a Foo Fighters tribute or something.
I think he still is.
Okay.
And Scars of Hatred is what he got known for.
See, I don't.
But
we need to interview him.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many great people in this industry that you should be interviewing.
Yeah.
And you're wasting all this time on me.
No, whatever.
Well, But anyway, I'm going to get a tattoo. I'm going to basically get this whole arm sleeved. Excuse me. And what I'm going to do is
back off.
Have
Yosemite
all my different
Sam.
friends do little things and then have them all somehow connect.
All right.
It'll be interesting.
All right.
But back to the CPMA. So I'm yelling at Junkins, and you hear these Greg, peppering up from all throughout the crowd. And I'm looking around, and it was so cool to see all these different people that you would not ordinarily see in one room at one point. And that's the power of our scene,
music scene.
And my hat is off. Yeah, my hat is off to the the Central Pennsylvania Music Awards for doing what they're doing.
If we're even, here's the thing, because and you know this as well as I do. They're people that lost, and they're saying all kinds of. for even trying to do this. That is
Yeah.
forward thinking. In other words, and that's for
No
even
good deed goes unpunished in life.
yes,
So
yes.
yeah,
So even try, you know, every year it gets better and better.
well, I'm just going to say this to anybody that is critical of the CPMAs or anything like that. What have you done that's better?
Yeah,
I,
he's trying.
it's very easy to bitch and moan on the internet, but if you haven't made anything that's better than what you're complaining about, then you're just an asshole at a keyboard. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's all. And if that offends anybody out there, it should. If you want to talk to me about it, you know where I am.
Yes.
But
Or do they?
oh, I'm easy to find.
Yeah.
I'm easy to find. But
That neon light
well, and
in
the
your
cool
front
thing was
yard.
my girlfriend Sarah is a amazing guitar player, very talented,
Yes.
very beautiful. And last night, several people were coming out. She's becoming a person of note. She's her brand is gaining popularity, and it was really interesting to observe how this on the way up, watching her star start to rise,
Yeah.
and I was quite proud of her.
Yes. That's
'Cause
wonderful.
she's a classy dame,
Yeah.
and she's
Yep.
got terrible taste in men, but God bless her.
She doesn't believe you.
Well, just,
She says good stuff.
she's all
Even if
right.
all I know about what Sarah says about you on the internet, but
Oh, it's terrible stuff.
it's you know, whatever. So what are you working on?
Uh what am I working on? Well, up there, right there is a 56 Les Paul Jr. that the body used to belong to a local guy named Jim Atkins. Jim was in oh whoa. I should write this stuff down. Anyway,
Improvise.
local artist. I can tell you anytime, but right now, amazing band. And he's left-handed, so he played it left-handed for the longest time, and then he actually had a left-handed body made and put the neck on a left-handed body. So I got that body
The right-handed
from
body.
him, and I made a neck for it. And
Okay.
so that's for a guy in Austria. And then this is a guitar I built for myself, and this is another one I'm building for myself.
Mhm.
And back right there is a 1937 Martin that I'm restoring for a fella. And then
Mhm.
sitting right there is a 1951 Gibson that I'm working on. And what else do we have here? There's a Les Paul I'm doing for a local guy. And I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. Actually, let's do this. This will be on a very, very big stage this summer. Can't say who it is.
Yep.
This is
I know who it is.
yeah, I know, and you're going to shut up right now. And this is something that I'm building for myself, and I'm experimenting, doing things. This was orange, and I decided it didn't need to be orange anymore, so it's two-tone pelham blue and white.
All
When
right.
I'm clamping and doing stuff where the guitar can't leave the bench, what I do is I restore old Hot Wheels cars, and I
Okay.
paint them different colors and this, that, and what have you. Let's see, what else do we have here? There's a bunch of alder body blanks that are going to get joined and made into guitars. And
Mhm.
this is the other of the two that I'm building for the huge band that we're not going to mention the name of. This is Black Carina, which is an African hardwood, and it grew near water, so you can see all the dark minerals that got pulled up into the wood, and it's visually exciting. There you can see the two guitars I referenced earlier, and here is a guitar for a Versus Machine, Steve Tilley, restoring that for him. Really good band with Mike Stipe, just terrific band. This is a part of my Honda minivan that got torn off when I hit a bunch of ice this winter, and I'm in the process of fixing it because I'd rather fix it than spend the money to replace it. And
The difference between you and I is you can handle all that.
yeah,
There's many differences, but whatever.
up here is That's a 1921 Gibson that I plan on restoring when I get time.
Yep.
And there's all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff. Bunch of guitars
How much repair work do you do?
Every day, all day. That's all I
right.
do. I mean, the building is really kind of like I don't consider myself a builder full time. I consider myself a repair guy, and then I build stuff when I do custom order commissions, but I'm only building 6 guitars a year. And by keeping it that way, uh, building is time consuming and it's actually less profitable.
Yeah.
I've been repairing guitars now see, I'm 58 and I was 13 when I started working on guitars. So you do the math.
Something about the 10,000 hours that you doing
Yeah.
it all the time.
Yeah, I've done it my whole life.
Of the last, 36 years or what was it? When did you start doing it?
It's 45 years, isn't it? Something like that. But
Yeah,
anyway,
but okay, so you were a hairdresser for 13 years or something?
hairstylist. There's difference.
Is there?
Hairdressers basically do basic cuts and then they curl in the style and everything like that. And they also do nails and makeup and all that stuff. I was a barber stylist. Barber stylists essentially just do hair and perms and colors and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
So there is a difference. And
Yeah.
there are some great hairdressers, but if you're checking, hair salon out and you're looking, I would recommend you try for a barber stylist first because the degree of precision is much greater. Yeah, I did that for 10 years from 85 to 94, inclusive.
And that's when you got
that's when I bought BCR. Yeah. But I was still doing repairs. I was doing repairs professionally in high school.
Congratulations to BCR, by the way.
Yeah. Hey.
I know this is last night BCR got
the CPMA for best instrument shop. Yep.
I will always support. I was saying, it sounds degrading when I say this, but the small town guy. It's not small.
No, that's not degrading at all. Small business. This country was built on small business. There were no major corporations when this country started, and every corporation started as a small business.
Mm-hmm. So congratulations goes out to BCR.
Yeah. So yeah, Jared.
To do with that. You did have something to do with it. Don't even get humble on me.
All right. I owned it for 27 years.
Yes.
I sold it in July.
Yeah.
I set a standard.
Yep.
And the guys are keeping that standard.
Mm-hmm.
Cody and Sam at the counter treat you like I treated you. You walk in there and those guys, they want to know you. They're happy to see you there.
So let's talk about this. And I've said this before. It's like when you go to a store like BCR, the difference between BCR and say, I'm not even going to say the national names because we know who they are. So the differences between that, what do you think the differences are?
Well, first off, there have to be differences.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a small business, like when I had BCR, I decided what I wanted to do. I carried the lines that I felt were best for my customers and that were also going to be profitable enough that I could continue to represent them. When you hang one of a brand of guitars up on the wall, you're not technically a dealer for them. You're just a spot where you might be able to try one. And when I would, before the internet, especially when I would add a line, when I bought the store, it was all used stuff. And when I started doing new guitars, when I would do research, I would, ask questions of my customers and stuff. And then when I bought into a line, let's say Schecter guitars, I bought 24 of them. So that when you walked in, you saw a good spread of the brand. Ironically enough, when you go to these big box stores, they'll have 2 or 3 of a whole lot of brands. So they're not really representing that manufacturer all that well, but none of the manufacturers can do without that exposure because as the industry has changed, actually there's a thread. My buddy Mitch Colby has Park Amplifiers. He ran Marshall for years and years and years. Mm-hmm. And he put a thing on this morning about the NAMM show, the National Association of Music Merchants show, which is typically it is in January in Anaheim. And this year, we haven't had it for a year or so because of COVID. And this year, they decided to have it in Nashville, but still in Anaheim. which I think is going to be a real pain in the tail because Disneyland, yeah, the hotels, NAM, when on NAM weekend, every hotel is twice as much as it is the week before or after
Yeah,
because
yeah,
NAM is getting paid. And what NAM has done in the uh, last 10, 15 years is they've allowed, as the industry has changed and the small dealers have become fewer and fewer, the major big box stores have become ways to get products out. So Sweetwater, Guitar Center, Musician's Friend, whatever, they've decimated the small stores like BCR. And as a result, the public, uh, when they think of getting another instrument, they automatically go to their phone and instead of getting in their car driving across town.
yeah.
And we saw it happen with sporting goods stores. I mean, when's the last time you saw a mom and pop sporting goods store? You don't.
Mhm.
Every town has a Dick's Sporting Goods, you know?
Yeah.
And so the music industry is no different. The independent retailer is all but disappeared in every major city. Uh, and as a result, the whole industry from the top down is changing. And so the NAM show, a lot of major hitters like Fender isn't even going to do the NAM show anymore because they were spending 100, $200,000 on a big show.
Hmm.
And then to keep the show attendance numbers up, NAM was allowing more and more civilians into the show. Well, if you have trade only paperwork and people are taking that, like a piece of paper that says what I pay, how many I have to buy to get this and that, whatever, and they're taking a picture with their phone and putting it right up on Reddit or whatever, that changed the public's perception. And what happened was we're about to see a major change in the music industry because the old models no longer work with
Okay.
technology. Um, you know, we're going to see fewer and fewer and fewer small businesses
Mhm.
across the board. I don't care if you're talking about cars or
That's
skateboards or guitars
that
or
is a
whatever.
shame
It's
in a way.
absolutely a
And
shame.
I know you have to grow, on all this stuff. But for me, when I was growing up, it was Johnny Reaver that sold me my first amplifier, the Big
Yeah.
Sun Beta Lead with the 610 cabinet. It was, I know him by name. I still see him from time to time.
Yeah.
He
You formed
knows
a
me.
relationship just like
Yeah,
a hairstylist.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like I don't necessarily know that the big box places are have that same aesthetic because they're not necessarily thinking about I'm going to be here. This is my community, and I don't.
It's not about community with them. It's about profit. And as a
Yeah,
result, um,
their hands are tied. I'm not necessarily. I'm not. I'm not dissing the people who are. In other words, they're told what to do. They have no.
yeah, the people in the stores they're just employees. They're not making the decisions. It's the morons in the upper glass towers that are making the decisions that are predatory to our industry. And I mean, Guitar Center is a joke in our industry because their stocks are below junk bond status, but none of the manufacturers, especially the majors that have invested heavily in them like Gibson and Fender, they can't afford to take that hit because as the small dealers like BCR and what have you have disappeared, how do you get the product stream to the public? You have to go
Yeah.
with what you did. So they found an easy way to do things. Like Rod, you remember when you were at Stephen Nicholas Music and catalogs were a problem. Do you remember
Yes.
when the Musician's Friend catalog was a huge
American.
problem with
Yep.
retailers?
Musician's Friend, American Music Supply.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Music Emporium, which was
Yep.
basically just Venomins,
Yeah.
and all of these places, and it was a big problem. Well, then what happened was the money spoke, and Guitar Center started as a small shop out in California, and now it's this huge chain, and it has as it's like Walmart. When it comes into an area, then all the small mom and pops um, that can't meet every customer 100% where they are, they fall down. And when you create a monster like that, you have to live with that monster. And I think that the industry is now in a very bad place because music is about individuality.
Mm-hmm.
Music is about creativity, and the major retailers cannot survive if they even acknowledge creativity or any sort of, you can't build a relationship, because that's not the way to make a profit. The
Yeah.
way to make a profit is take the customer's money as efficiently as possible and get them out of the way so that the customer behind them can hand you money as well.
Yes.
And I guarantee you, within the next year or so, you'll probably see self checkout at those places. I mean, it's already the point now. I went shopping recently. Sarah's birthday was last week, and I went shopping, and I rang myself out at every one of the stores, with the exception of one store. I rang myself out at the other stores, and I find that very, very interesting. That, you know, these stores care so little about their staff that they're eliminating their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And as
Right.
these
From I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not
Well,
surprised.
if you're going for dollars, you're not going for relationships. If you're not going for relationships, you will end badly.
Yes.
And the guitar companies in the 60s, guitars, everybody and their brother wanted a guitar or two or three. And so guitars were super hot. And up into the 70s, it became very corporate. Gibson was owned by Norland, which is a Brazilian tool and die manufacturer. Fender was owned by CBS. So these companies got really, really big. And what happened was they created a cottage industry of small builders like Hamer out of Chicago, Dean Guitars out of Chicago, BC Rich, Bernie Rico's operation out of California. And these companies were small companies making specialized guitars. And because the companies were so big, the little guys who could react quickly, if you look at a big ship and you look at it trying to turn in the ocean, it takes miles to turn it. Whereas you look at a tugboat, it turns almost on itself. A tugboat doesn't carry the volume. It certainly isn't going to have the long distance capability, but for short maneuverability, you can't beat it. And when the tugboat works with the ocean liner, everybody wins.
Yes.
And what's going on in our industry is, what I'm hoping is that these big box stores, these internet only retailers and stuff, I'm hoping that the customers will start to have a movement where people will be tired of the impersonality, tired of the lack of human content.
Well,
and
I have to think that we're going to get to the point where everything in this automated world, what we're going to crave is human connection.
Yeah.
And we will pay for human connection instead of saving $35 on your guitar or whatever it is, whatever the price is that is different. And that human connection and establishing a relationship with people you can trust to take care of your guitar. Okay. That's worth a price. That is worth a price. At some point, we'll come back to that is worth a price.
This is one of the reasons I left retail, because it got to the point. I mean, I'd rather just repair guitars, to be totally honest. People would say, Greg, you know, it must be great to work for yourself. I didn't work for myself. I worked for every person that walked in the front door. So on some days I'd have 100 new bosses, you know, and after 27 years of owning the place and 30 plus of you know, being in it, it was time for me to go off, be by myself. I'm not a young man anymore.
Yes.
I know I look 25, but the yeah, a couple of old guys sitting around finishing. The thing that I'm kind of referencing here is, I would have, when you bought a brand new any manufacturer guitar from me, I would give you free adjustments for life, because I am a luthier technician. So I would set it up the way you liked it when you left, and I would make sure that that guitar would always play that well. Well, it got to the point where guys would come into the store and they'd find a guitar they liked. They'd try all the guitars. They'd find one they like, and then they'd sit there on their phone and they'd see where they could get it cheaper. And I literally had a guy show me his phone, and he found an internet retailer that had the same guitar. It was like an $1,800 guitar, and he found it for $75 cheaper online. And he said, will you match that price? I said, I'm sorry, but I've already discounted it 30% off of list. I can't afford to match that price.
You're a
And
better man than
I
me.
and I and I
You're a
had told
better
him
man
about
than
the
me.
free and I told him about the free adjustments. And he said, "Well, what if I give up the free adjustments? Will you take the 75 off there?"
No.
And I thought, I'm in the wrong arena.
Well, here's the thing, and this is what don't be the cheapest. Don't aspire
Oh,
for that. Don't be the cheapest.
cheap, good, fast.
Yes.
Pick any two,
Yeah.
anytime.
Yep.
Or as it says over here, skilled labor isn't cheap and cheap labor isn't skilled.
Yeah.
And that goes for pricing, that goes for quality, that goes for anything. If you choose to buy the cheapest everything, you are probably not going to go parachuting more than once.
Yeah.
Hopefully that made sense.
It kind of did. Yeah.
But anyway, the bottom line is to
It's
circle
dangerous.
back around. Congratulations to Jared and the staff at BCR Music. I recommend
Congratulations to
everybody in the area.
all our friends, whether they be virtual or real friends.
And you can get to them online at bcrmusic.com. So they can be your local guy if you don't have a local guy.
Yes.
Reach out and get a local guy because they care about you.
Yes.
So
Yep.
enough about that.
Yes.
Let's talk about
Randy Rhoads.
Randy Rhoads, 41 years ago?
40 years.
40 years ago.
40 years last week. I think it was last Saturday.
I have something interesting too. Ironically enough, I'm going to show you this case.
So
Dana
so
Strum.
Dana Strum. What is the importance of Dana Strum in the LA heavy metal
Okay.
and music
So,
history?
a lady named Dolores Rhoads had a music academy, and they taught all manner of voice and musical instruments and guitar and stuff. She had a son named Randy. Randy was an amazingly accomplished guitar player at a young age. He was a little guy. He was tiny, very quiet. And a fellow named Ozzy Osbourne left Black Sabbath. Ironically, after Van Halen opened up for Black Sabbath on a European tour, it was Van Halen's first tour. They opened up for Black Sabbath. After Van Halen had opened up with Montrose, they broke up. And then after Van Halen toured with Black Sabbath, Ozzy said, "I can't do this anymore," and he left Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
And Black Sabbath got Ronnie James Dio and entered a whole nother era that was actually really, really cool.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, Ronnie and Pennsylvania.
Hate me. I love Ronnie James Dio's era is my favorite era in Sabbath.
I loved him because I was taller than him. But anyway,
you're both elves though.
So Ozzy goes to LA and he's going to put a band together. So he hears about this band that plays very Black Sabbath sort of stuff. Bass player's name is Dana Strum. So Ozzy goes backstage. They're playing, I think it was the Whiskey or the Troubadour. And he goes backstage and he meets Dana. And you have to talk to Dana. Dana does the impressions and everything. It's amazing. But he meets Dana and he says that he, like you and I, it's you and I now, And so he steals Dana from this band to start putting his band together. And in no short order, Dana realizes that he's not going to play with Ozzy, but he helps him put a band together. And Ozzy's looking for a guitar player. Now, at the time, Hollywood, every hot guitar player in the country was there. The number of guys that auditioned for Ozzy is ridiculous. I personally know at least 15 guys that auditioned for Ozzy, including the late Shane Berger. He auditioned for Ozzy. But Ozzy wasn't seeing what he wanted with all these guys. Dana knows just the guy. It's Mrs. Rhodes' kid, Randy. Yeah. Now, Randy was playing out with a band called Quiet Riot.
Yes.
And Quiet Riot was quite the club band, and they were very well known. And Randy wasn't interested in auditioning for Ozzy.
He didn't even like Black Sabbath.
Yeah, he didn't like Black Sabbath. He was into more classical stuff.
Yeah.
And Dana convinced Randy to go audition for Ozzy. So the way it went down is Randy shows up at Ozzy's room in the hotel, and he's got a little amp and he's tuning up. And Ozzy's talking to him, and Ozzy loved him as a person. And he said, Ozzy just said, well, let me hear you play. And Randy played a little bit, and Ozzy said, well, do you want the job, man? And it was Randy's personality. And then the fact that he was a supreme musician. But
Yeah.
the interesting thing is, he didn't walk in there with a swinging dick. He walked in there as
He
a
was warmed
humble
up.
human being,
Yeah.
proceeded to record two of the most important hard rock albums of all time. And since Eddie Van Halen had already done the tapping thing, along comes Randy, and he brings in this grandiose neoclassical sort of thing. And those the first two records, the first two Ozzy records, the ones with Randy, and then the live Speak of the Devil, or not Speak of the Devil, whatever the live one is. Tribute, yeah. They're amazing records. And Ozzy never sang that well before and has not sang that well since.
And he has not written that well. The songs.
Yeah.
A lot of what he's been doing, and then what he's been doing more recently is hiring other people to help the songwriting.
Yeah.
And he had help then too, but
yeah,
but that was the Blizzard of Oz was the original band.
Yeah.
And so Ozzy's was a new prototype in rock and roll heavy metal.
Yeah.
That not too many
a famous guy and put a bunch of unknowns with him, and boom. And and sadly, on the Diary of Madman tour, touring for the second record, they toured constantly. And on the second record, they had one of the bus drivers had a pilot's license, and he rented a plane, and they were going to just fly around. And Randy and the seamstress for the band went up with this guy, and they went for a flight, and the guy tried to buzz the bus, and he clipped the bus, and the plane went into a house nearby and exploded, and all were killed. And it's one of the biggest, stupidest, most senseless tragedies of all time.
Yeah.
The irony is Randy was talking about leaving and going back to just teaching and playing
going back to classical UCLA
music. He was done with the rock star life. It wasn't for him.
Yeah.
And so 40 years ago, we lost Randy in a senseless, idiotic sort of thing. And Randy joins other fantastic people that we've lost, like Stevie Ray Vaughan died in a senseless accident.
Yeah.
And I think the Lord gives us truly amazingly talented people and loans them to us for a while to inspire those of us down in the trenches, like, oh, I want to be like that guy. And then he takes them back. He took Jimi Hendrix back. He took Stevie back. He took Prince. And Randy was one of these guys. He came and he was amazing. I personally didn't really know that much about him at the time. I was caught up in the Eddie Van Halen thing and starting to my own path, which is kind of interesting to think that 40 years ago I was starting to take off. And when Randy died, I became more aware of him. And I remember hearing the song D, which is a nylon string piece they did for his mom. And that's when I realized what I missed. I had just missed.
So here was a guy that the Osborne bus would pull into town, and he would call up area guitar teachers to study from.
Yeah. And there are audio tapes. There are audio tapes of him where people would come and take lessons, and they would tape the lesson, and they're popping up here and there, and it's awesome. There's very little live footage of Randy, and it's a shame because he was such an energetic performer. And I don't want to say he was a huge influence on me, but he did
change my life.
Yeah,
he was a huge influence on me. He changed my life.
Cool.
And it was after the fact. I became aware of him after I read about his death, and I read the Guitar Player magazine commemorating his life, but what he was about, and it's like, and then you listen to it, then you listen to what he did, and it's like he was a decent dude in a world full of people that aren't so decent all the time.
Yeah,
they're troubled and broken, misfit toy kind of community. Like Ozzy was a wreck. He was a wreck. So it's at that time, he was a complete, like, he had yet to really
and he's never
redefine himself.
Randy's death too.
Huh?
Ozzy has said publicly many times he's never recovered from losing Randy. Randy was so important to Ozzy,
Yeah.
and when we lost Randy, Ozzy, he went, he spiraled after that. If you've seen The Dirt, you'll know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, it's
I,
stupid. Like the stuff that snorting up ants on the Alamo, and I'm probably
yeah,
getting some of this wrong,
well,
but it's like
he peed
getting
on the
arrested
Alamo.
for peeing on the Alamo, snorting up ants, grossing out Motley Crue. That is what he became noted for.
Yeah,
But those first two
amazing.
albums were absolutely iconic. And there's like Diary of a Madman, of taking from classical music influences and classical guitar influences in a way that is not like the other guy that we talk about sometimes. So it's a very refreshing way that nobody really copied his sound.
No,
Nobody
no,
really nobody really can do. It wasn't as easy to nail as some of the other ones.
right. And I mean, you listen to guys like Yngwie, I
That other guy,
anybody could do that if you just want to put the time in to learn how to do that. Yngwie
Mhm.
plays what sounds to me like two solos. He does the pedal tone thing and then he does a sweep thing. And every song, the solos are remarkably similar. Whereas with Randy, he would his solos, he would write out his solos and he would
The little
triple track.
compositions.
Yeah, they were brilliant little asides, and he would triple track. And when you listen, the guy played everything so consistently that you're not even aware that this is three different times that he laid down this track. And this was before Pro Tools. This was on tape.
Yeah,
So, it just blows
he
my
doubled
mind.
his solos, every solo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The precision with which he played guitar and the motion that he brought through the guitar, it's really remarkable. And so yeah, 40 years ago, rest in peace.
yes,
We were lucky to have him. And you just wonder how many people never got a chance to pick up a guitar that could have been one of these guys,
yeah,
you know? Um, how many people were born in Siberia that never saw a basketball and could have been, somebody important? How many people were born somewhere and never saw a golf club? How many people were born somewhere and never saw a pen and
mhm,
never learned how to write great stories? Creativity is such a bizarre sort of gift.
yeah,
And so we're very fortunate that
superhuman.
occasionally the Lord does put these people in our lives, like Randy and Eddie and such.
Mhm.
And maybe somebody that I saw at the CPMAs last night might be one of these people coming up. We don't know.
Absolutely, yes.
If you support the scene, though, the scene will support you. And
Uh-huh.
that's see how I brought that back around, Rod.
Hey, see, that was clever. This isn't your first rodeo.
It's my third. No, what is it? This is four.
5.
Five. Okay, this is
Yeah.
my fifth rodeo. But yeah, to get back to it, because we all have lives to get along with and we
Mhm,
don't want to bore people. CPMAs last night were great. Looking forward to
mhm.
going every year. Um, and at some point, I might actually win one on my own merit. And I'm hoping that I will be doing a record at some point. I got some
Yep.
friends that are going to play on it. We'll talk about that later.
Mhm.
And but a lot of great people there last night. There's so many terrific people in the local scene, and
Yes.
I encourage everybody, no matter where you are, if you're in Central PA or if you're watching us in Vladivostok, support your local scene. And if your
Absolutely.
scene, instead of sitting there complaining about what your scene doesn't have,
Yeah.
why don't you why don't you fill that void? Why don't you be
Yes.
the person that supports it? Why don't you be the person, if your scene doesn't have somebody getting all the club owners together to talk about, how to reinforce it, then maybe you need to be the person. John Harris, let's talk about John Harris. Local promoter, won
Yes.
the Lifetime Achievement Award last night.
Which is wonderful. No,
This
no
guy,
one more deserving.
yeah, back in the day, he worked with McCool Productions, and
Mhm.
he's worked with
Hicks.
everybody. He's brought so many fantastic artists to our
Mhm.
area. Um, he has done more for the local music scene than any other human being on the planet.
Yes.
And John and I have had our ups and downs. I'm not going to
Mhm.
lie, but we're currently in the up, and
Right.
and I was very pleased when I found out that he was going to get the Whitey Knoll Award, because he really, I mean, it was said last night that nobody in the room has not been touched by what he's done. You know, we've all been to either shows he promoted, played
Mm-hmm.
venues where he was, you know, the talent guy. Um, I know I personally, from all the way back to Citizen Kane, I mean, almost every show I played for a long time was a John Harris show.
Yeah.
So, um, you know, we must mention that the people that keep a scene thriving, the John Harrises of each music scene, they need to be celebrated. John
Yeah.
was very uncomfortable to get up in front of a microphone. He's usually more of a, you know, sit
Guy
back in the
behind
office.
the scene. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but yeah, my John, if I had a hat, it would be off to you, my friend,
yes,
because
absolutely, John. Yeah, so I
you
interviewed him,
deserve it.
and it's like what he would want is more venues, more
Yeah,
people
well, we
supporting
need
live
more venues.
music,
More
more
venues,
venues.
more live music, we'd all be better off.
Yes,
Live music, the cool thing about live music is the unpredictability. It's nice to see a band and go, wow, they're really, really cool. I did not expect that.
yeah,
Um, and when you see live music that you enjoy, then you know it becomes an influence on your own music. And if there's something very positive, and I don't care if it's, you know, music or create any sort of creativity. I don't know if we're talking about people that paint or whatever. When you see somebody do something really, really well, it can't help but affect you.
inspire
And
you in many ways, no matter what
yeah,
you
and
do.
then you might reach out to, somebody else might be exposed to your art or your music or whatever, and it might inspire them to actually be creative themselves. And that's what it's all about. You know, we're not here to preach to people. We're here to entertain people.
With that said, till next week, Uncle Greg. How was
Yeah,
that? How was that for an accent?
you sexy bitch.
You sexy bitch. Till next week.
Yeah. God bless y'all.
Yes.
Be good to each other.
Revenge. Yeah, be good to each other. See ya.